Drop everything now. Speak Now Taylor's version is out, and we're making a doll to celebrate. Hi everyone, it's me, Diana, the Doll Fairy. Welcome back to my channel. So Taylor Swift has been my favorite musical artist since probably 2008 or so, and this spring I was blessed to be able to attend the Eras Tour. It was my first time attending a real big concert like this, and it was my first time seeing Taylor, and it was a really incredible experience. Even though I had very little time to do so, I managed to make myself this sequined dress to wear, along with a bunch of friendship bracelets to trade with other Swifties at the event. And I've been floating in a lavender haze ever since, with a different Eras song stuck in my head every day.
So when I saw this new Barbie Looks doll with her blonde curls, I couldn't help thinking that she looked a little bit like Taylor, especially in her Speak Now era. The more I looked at the face sculpt, the more I thought it could work for a Taylor Swift doll. And now that Taylor's version of Speak Now has been released, I thought making a Speak Now era Taylor doll would be incredibly timely. So let's do it. I'll be keeping those blonde curls intact, so I mask off the hair with fabric to protect it from the sealant. Then I'm going to swap out her curvy Made-to-Move body with the standard body, which more accurately reflects Taylor's proportions. The skin tone isn't a perfect match, but it is very close, so after the face up and blushing, I don't think you'll be able to detect a difference. I use a hairdryer to heat up the head and neck on both dolls and pop off the heads using a careful twisting motion so as not to break the neck pegs. Now let's remove the factory paint using acetone nail polish remover on a cotton bud. After washing off the face and making sure it's free of dust, and wrapping the doll's body in a plastic bag to protect it from the spray sealant, I use Mr. Super Clear on the face to create a surface on which I will be able to draw using watercolor pencils. This stuff is very dangerous if inhaled, so I only use it outside with my respirator mask on to protect my lungs. Now I can start on the face. I collected tons of images of Taylor from the Speak Now era in order to really analyze her features while drawing. I begin by outlining the eyebrows, eyes, and lips with a light brown watercolor pencil. And I work on getting the shapes to look just right before moving on to adding darker lines and colors. Of course, the really important features that will make this doll look like Taylor will be the signature cat eye makeup and eye shape, along with prominent red lips. This doll's sculpt has the perfect lip shape, and I'm going to also add a little bit of white in order to make it look like her lips are slightly parted. For her eye color, I looked at some really high-res close-up photos of Taylor's eyes to see how I should color her irises. I really was committed to accuracy here. Her eyes are blue, but they have a lot of depth to their color, including greenish tones and a bright silvery gray. I'm starting with some greenish tones for this first layer with a very pale gray tone in the highlighted section of the iris. I'm using pink and warm brown tones in chalk pastels for blush and shading the facial features. Around the eyes is an area I'm devoting a lot of attention to. I'm giving her purple eyeshadow to go with the signature color of the Speak Now album, but also balancing out that bright color with some warmer brown tones so that it all blends together nicely. Although the eyes started out with a green tone, I'm layering on blues and grays, and this looks a lot more realistic to me. The biggest impact happens when I add black to the top part of the iris. With black at the top and a very light silver gray toward the bottom, almost white, the eyes look like they have a glow to them. While we work on building up color and depth in the face, layering onto the foundation we created, let me ramble a bit about Speak Now. I bought the original CD when it came out in 2010 and listened to it a ton, so this album is very dear to my heart. Taylor was such a Disney princess in this era, and I absolutely loved that. I adored how she was such a good role model for her fans, and her lofty and romantic ideas about love, and her inevitable disappointment, were something I really related to. Since then, Taylor has grown up so much, and I feel like I have too, so I'm so excited to hear these songs re-recorded, with Midnight's era Taylor's wisdom and maturity infused into the fairy tale vibes of some of the songs like Enchanted and Long Live. In the meantime, let's make an unapologetically princessy gown to match those classic fairy tale vibes. I want the dress to have a magical quality without looking really ostentatious or glittery. I decide to make a dress with a shimmery purple organza underlayer and a layer of translucent violet chiffon on top. This reminds me of the classic Speak Now dress Taylor wore when she sang the album's title song on her tour, and is also reminiscent of the album cover. I'll be using Requiem Art's country classic dress pattern for the bodice, which I feel is a really appropriate style for 2010, along with the skirt from the princess gown pattern, in order to make it a ball gown instead of a cocktail dress. For the tiny top pieces, I make sure to add fray check to all the edges of each piece to prevent them from fraying while sewing. This is absolutely crucial when working with delicate fabrics and tiny pieces like this. For the straps of the bodice, I'm using metallic purple embroidery thread that matches really well. I sew it in between the two layers of the bodice. Once I sew in the darts, the top pieces are ready to be sewn to the front middle bodice piece. I then sew on the back pieces of the bodice and hem the tops of these with some tacky glue and sewing clips to hold the hem in place until it dries. I hem the bottom edge of the skirt over layer, but decide to leave the shimmery organza layer a little bit longer so that it will peek out at the bottom of the dress. I sew in 2 gathering stitches along the top of the skirt and gather it so that it's the same length as the bodice. I then pin the two together and hand stitch this seam to make sure that the gathers end up falling nicely. I pull out the gathering stitches and it looks nice and neat. Now all that's left is to sew up the back of the skirt and add a closure. I'm using some sleek and thin Velcro and hand stitching it into place. Before we can call this dress finished, I'm creating a quick tulle petticoat to go underneath the skirt and add a little bit more structure and volume. I gather the top and stitch it onto a ribbon so that it can be very simply tied around the doll's waist. For her shoes, I'm going to repaint these cute red Barbie shoes that remind me a bit of ballet slippers and also have a cute vibe that I feel fits this era well. I'm painting them white as a base coat and then silver on top of that, which is quite simple but really elegant. Now let's free those curls and dress her up for the big reveal. The embroidery thread on the straps is kind of starting to unravel, which I definitely don't want. So I carefully braid the strands of thread on each side and knot them so that they will be secure and look nice. What do you think? Does she look like Speak Now era Taylor? I do think that with the volume of those curls, she might actually look a little bit more like debut era Taylor, but I do think her face looks pretty accurate. And I'm really proud of that. I've really only done a handful of repaints at this point that were meant to look like real people, and I think that they're pretty difficult to do. But I'm really happy with how my rendition of Taylor looks. I also think the skin tone is a bit too orangey for that shade of blonde hair. Like, the skin tone should be a little bit more pale, and she looks very California sun-kissed, but I didn't really have any way to avoid that, unfortunately. Even so, I still like how she turned out.
And now that I've made one Taylor Swift doll, I think I may need to do all the eras. I definitely want to make another doll that looks like Eras Tour Taylor. That way I can make all the outfits from the Eras Tour, or at least my favorite ones. I definitely want to make this outfit, which is my absolute favorite. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel.
I'd like to take a moment to thank my patrons. It's thanks to their help that all this doll magic is possible.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you all again soon for more doll magic. Bye!